Goodness gracious.
Well, now it counts because they can see us and hear us. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Dana was just giving me a hard time again about, are we live? Are we not? You know, it's...
Y'all are TikToking. Okay, now mine says that it's 6 o'clock. I'm just saying, y'all are jumping the gun a smidgen.
And
of course, by the time you hear this, it'll be after. But
and Dana has been here for like 15 minutes. So, I mean, if we had been late, it would not have been Dana's fault. So there.
Well, we weren't late.
No. Hi, everybody. Ghost Wheel, that's a good idea. I just saw your thing in the chat about potential next like Starfleet jobs video. Starfleet OSHA inspector. I think I have to check my list. I might have something like that on the list, but that is a really good suggestion. Yeah. So
it feels like forever since we've got to watch a Poirot video.
Oh yes, thank you for reminding me. So Internet Archive is down because they were hacked.
I didn't know that's why.
You didn't hear about that? Yeah, they've been down for like a week. Yeah, so hopefully they'll be back up by the time we move on to the next Poirot episode, or else I'm not sure what we're gonna do.
We've got some time because I mean, there's this, and then there's DS9, and then there's Deep Space Nine, the other half of this, and then there's another week of DS9.
Yeah,
and then there's
so we've got some time, and they've gotten the Wayback Machine back up, but the main sort of body of the archive is still offline. So hopefully that'll be sorted out, not just for us, but for everybody, because the Internet Archive is a really nice resource. But so
but especially
if
for
you
us.
have not, but for us particularly, because they have Poirot episodes on there. So if you need a copy of the episode, there is a link to a non-Internet Archive sourced episode that is in the live chat in my pinned message and is also in the video description. So if you need to download the episode, go ahead and download it now from that link. Right now. But anyway. Oh, and you know, I wanted to tell you something I didn't have time to tell you before we went live, but we were talking right before I went to get my pizza about your various devices and like your earbuds last week, that your wired earbuds that weren't working the way they were supposed to. And you did this gesture with your hand. You were like, it's supposed to work right now. Right. Yeah. And it reminded me.
Yeah.
You had a plan. Yeah. And it reminded me of a couple weeks ago on NXT. The main event was a match where CM Punk was the special referee. And CM Punk kept saying, as the special referee, that he was going to call it down the middle. And his pantomime for calling it down the middle was this. And he would do that. Then, and it's a standard wrestling. It's whenever you have like a wrestler as a guest referee, especially if it's a babyface wrestler, you know, he always says, I'm going to call it right down the middle. And so there's standard spot that you do at the beginning of such a match where the babyface special referee will enforce the rules to the consternation of the heel wrestler, and then will a few minutes later enforce the rules to the consternation of the babyface wrestler. And when Punk did that, like this was his thing. When he would enforce the rules and hey man, what's with that? He just went right down the middle. So oh my God, Philip. Philip says, if anyone remembers the boy band One Direction, Liam Payne just died after falling from the 3rd floor of a hotel in Argentina. Yikes. I don't remember. I mean, I remember that the band existed, but I don't. I didn't know any of their names or anything, but yikes.
And we won't know their names again tomorrow.
No, I won't, unfortunately.
I know that name. Alexander Siddig. Why do I know that name?
He's Dr. Bashir.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
Wow. So he's going to be like really young in this, right? Like this would have been before, I think.
This would have been before DS9. I'm not sure how long before. I don't know if he's going to look super young. But then again, I mean, because we're in season 5 of the show now in our Deep Space Nine watch along. So if we saw Bashir from season 1, he'd probably look young. at the point that we're in, because now we're used to seeing him a few years on. So yeah, he'll probably look young to us. I'm not sure how young he would have been.
Thanks, HB Haga. So 255 IDS. So Cora remembered that we had some chorizo. So there's chorizo and spinach on the pizza.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, I know, it is very tasty. I'm just like,
nice.
First of all, I love pizza, and chorizo is just like, I don't know. Chorizo, I think, is one of my favorite meats. It's just, I love the blend of spices in it. It just tastes good. I like it a lot.
And actually, you know what? Mr. I Love the Ants is correct. I just looked it up. This episode actually was after Deep Space Nine.
You didn't trust Mr. I Love the Ants?
Steve. Well, I just looked it up I just hit trust but verify.
Fair enough. Okay, Reagan.
I was going to say, as much as it pains me to quote fucking Ronald Reagan.
In fairness, he's not the one who came up with it. He just, also said it.
He was just an actor saying his lines.
Exactly, Steve. Exactly.
Well, if it was Reagan, then Nancy probably came up with it.
No, I think it predates her even. I mean, I know that's a long time ago, but
Ronnie, say trust but verify.
Not exactly. It's home topped. So this is one of our Red Baron cheese pizzas. It's like this is the standard. This is what we get now. But yeah, we add toppings to it because we get the cheese and then we're like, what are we going to put on it? Usually nothing, because it's just so good on its own. But yeah, chorizo and spinach.
It looks good.
Nice too.
It looks good. Spinach is good on pizza. I've always liked spinach on pizza. Oh, sure, Caitlin. Didn't really have a choice. It's because the archive is down. But yeah, luckily, I was able to acquire a copy of the episode.
You find
provide an alternate link. Streaming Meanie says, I would have liked to see more interactions between Data and Bashir on either TNG or DS9. I kind of feel like they could have worked it in. Yeah. But I mean, working it in particular? Really, I guess because of they did interact briefly, or there was an episode of TNG while both shows were still on the air, because the last season of TNG overlapped with the second season of Deep Space Nine, I think, and then it was over. Or maybe the first season, I can't remember. Anyway, there was a little bit of overlap between TNG and Deep Space Nine before TNG ended, and they did do a little bit of a crossover episode where Bashir interacts with Data. So, but I mean, for me, the test isn't could they have worked it in. Because you can work in pretty much anything. Like that's
could they have told a good story with it?
And would it have been good? And that episode is fine. That episode is fine. But it's not, I don't think most people consider it a classic or anything. And I think it was mostly done to kind of try to juice the ratings for Deep Space Nine, because Deep Space Nine always did okay in the ratings, but it was never as highly rated as TNG. And that was a concern. And I think they wanted to be like, hey, if you're not watching Deep Space Nine, check it out. So
hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
Yeah. Air One Fire says, I'm eating ice cream at midnight. Living the dream, my friend.
One of the best things about being an adult.
Living the dream. Exactly. Yeah. Ironically, part of being an adult means you can eat like a child whenever you want.
But also it means dealing with the consequences of said choices.
Yeah, that's also a part of it. Oh, well.
Yeah, I know. Kind of a bummer.
So how have you been today? Let's just limit it to today. Because it's...
more stressed than I feel I ought to have been. So it's fall break for us, and we had planned to go to the zoo today, because I was away visiting friends Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and so today we were going to go to the zoo with a pass from the library. I did not think ahead, and just the last couple of weeks, just with the show and everything else and tutoring, really full. And So I get to the library, I return my book, and I ask about the pass. They're like, "Oh, it's already been checked out." And I was like, "Did not anticipate that. I should have. I should have because it's fall break and everybody else needs stuff to do, especially with their kids." So, those plans were unexpectedly changed for us, and we kind of, there were some frustrated and, what are we going to do? And then, I mean, not crisis or anything, but just, this is how it's supposed to be. Now it's not this way.
Yeah, you have to change plans, and
Figure
it's
something out.
annoying.
Not a big deal, not a big deal, but more, and not deliberately choosing to feel bad about it, because like I said, first of all, it's not all on me. Yes, I'm the one who goes to the library more often, but I'm also the one who's had more to do over the last few weeks. So working together, other members of the family helping me to remember to do this ahead of time would have helped. We didn't even really think about it because when we've gone to get one of the passes before, it's just been available because that's just how it's worked out. So it didn't occur to me or anybody else to get the pass before. And then so I didn't get super down on myself, but just sort of threw the day off. And then, but we did go somewhere else. We went to, there's like a nature conservatory park that we went to, and we walked around there for a little bit. Did not see, like zoo type animals, but we saw, some turtles and frogs and definitely some squirrels, no bunnies. And then we heard what we think were red wolves. So that was kind of cool. Might have been coyotes, but they have red wolves like in that park that they know of, and yeah, it sounded like red wolves. So
it was sort of process of elimination. Like what could the howling be?
Kind of probably not grays around here, but yeah, so that was pretty neat. So
cool. And now here you are.
Yep. And also just stressing about the election just in general.
God. Yeah.
All of that.
I'll be so glad when it's over.
I did some of my
door knocking.
I went door knocking. That's not today. That was last night. I did not go today. I might go again like on Tuesday, because like tomorrow is it's full the next few days. I have some time open on Sunday, but I think I'm going to use that to recuperate again. Tomorrow I go, in the evening, I go over to the amusement park, and I'm going to be working the haunted house or something. I don't really know yet. I'll find out tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to that, but we'll see. I'm really not sure what to expect. They are going to see where I can help out the most and say, okay, you're going to do this. Go get makeup. Okay. Hopefully they'll figure something out for a costume. I don't know.
Air One Fire says, what's it like door knocking?
Mostly boring. Just knocking. So you have to wait after you knock. You have to wait 20 to 30 seconds. So I always do my 1,000 all the way up to 30. And then you knock again or ring the bell or whatever. And then you wait again. And then nobody comes to the door. And then you put the little flyer on the, around the door handle, and then you go on to the next one. There was a lot of that. Hilariously, the first door I went to, somebody was there. It was the person I was looking for, and they answered the survey. Great. It's the only one I got. It's the only one that I actually.
Well, at least you got one.
Yeah, there were a number of them where somebody came to the door and said, "Oh, so and so is out. They're at work, at school, wherever. They're not here right now." And then one person came to the door, was like, yeah, that's me, but I literally got out of the shower like 30 seconds ago, and they're looking around the door like this. I was like, okay, well, no survey then, but can I give you this? Here's information about making sure that you're registered and where to go to vote, or how to find out where to go to vote, because this is just general information. And they're like, okay. I was like, yeah. So I'm gonna check not available. But I had a lot of not availables, so not at home, whatever. So yeah, very much beginner's luck.
Well, I give you so much credit for even trying, because at this point in my life, there's no way I would ever do that.
So
I would I just wouldn't do it. I mean, I don't even want a phone bank anymore. That's too nerve-wracking for me. I'm just like, it's just too much. It's just too, emotionally stressful to me. Like, I don't know, is there an unemotional form of stress? All stress is emotional, but like, you know,
Honestly, the most
so
stressful part was, especially when I got started, was I didn't know what things were going to look like in the app until I actually did them. Like they didn't have a dummy thing to walk through it. I'm like, oh gosh, what if I? And then I'm like, okay, so I had like screenshots of the things that I was supposed to remember to say, like, are you
sure.
going to, do you have not just do you have a plan to vote, but are you going to vote? Vote by mail, early in person, or in person on election day. And I was like, I had a screenshot of that. But then when I went to mark that the person was there, like it's like, oh, the script is right here in the app. Great. Okay. Wasn't really ready. And then also it says to say, hey, is so and so home? And if they say yes, then you wait so and so. Hi, I'm Dana. I'm with, this name of this program. Da-da. But I sort of flipped that around and like, because it's weird to have somebody just rando. So I would say, hi, I'm with thus and such, program is so and so home, or so and so available. And, so I flip flopped that a little bit, which was off script, but I feel like it's important to identify yourself first.
Yeah, what are
like
you
right
doing
off.
here? Yeah,
Yeah,
what is this
exactly.
about?
So
Yeah. 255 AD says, surely you mean there's a 56% chance you'll be glad. Yeah, good point. And also 255 AD earlier on told a story about his mom saying something about he said, I mentioned that I didn't like how my sister-in-law just assumed my 3-year-old nieces would want to go as witches for Halloween. My mother responded, we bought them all sorts of jeans and stuff, but they just preferred dresses. No one made them wear them. It just goes to show boys and girls are different. And then 285 AD says, what would you have said to my mother? I wouldn't have said anything. I don't engage in conversations like that. That's one of the reasons why I don't speak to my own mother, because she has a tendency to say shit like that, and life's too fucking short. But if I were going to say something, I would probably point out that it doesn't show anything of the kind. It shows that those particular people prefer to wear dresses over jeans. Not that all girls are different than all boys in that way. That's an unwarranted generalization.
amen. I mean,
Yeah.
like most generalizations in that sense.
Yeah. Remember, sweeping generalizations are always bad.
Of
Ghost Wheel says, did Stuffy get all his mailers done? Yes, he did. And
course he did.
he is now waiting patiently for the mail date, because the mail date is not for about another week. But yes, the
Does
Stuffy
he
got
have
him.
them
Stuffy
stacked
got him all.
neatly by the outgoing
Oh,
mail with a note, don't
they're
mail
ready to go.
until
They're ready to go. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ugh.
And also someone earlier, I think it was Caitlin. Yeah, election seasons last way too fucking long in America. You are telling us. Oh my God. I wanted to mention this. I've been in a couple of live streams in the past few weeks talking about the election, and there was one, I think it might have been the more recent one. I wanted to mention this, but I didn't have a chance to work it in with everybody else, talking and having their own points to make. But someone brought up the Harris campaign and how unusual it is that she only officially became the candidate in July, and now here we are almost to the election, and we're used to much longer campaigns. And I wanted to make the point that, to me, the lesson we should learn from that is that our presidential elections don't need to be this long. Like,
Hmm.
we could come up with, and obviously it's easier said than done. You'd have to get the states all in line and on board with this, but it would make so much more sense to have like a compressed primary where all the states vote on the same day, or maybe within the same very narrow range instead of across half the year.
That would be nice.
And then we go straight from that. Once we know who's going to be the nominee, we go straight from that to the conventions. And then, like, instead of making it this prolonged, protracted, like 2-year process of people declaring and people campaigning, and then you have primary debates, and then you have primaries that start in January, and some states are still voting in June. It's ridiculous.
Political
Yeah.
theater.
Yeah, just there's no reason why the presidential campaign needs to last. Like, the presidential campaign could last 6 months or even less. I would prefer even less. Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
So yeah, just just stressing about that.
Yeah, it's stressful. Hi, Tammy. Yes, you did get here just in time. We are just about to transition over to the show watching part of the
Show.
show.
So
Yeah,
shall I say how it's done, since that's what I
please,
get to do? I don't actually get to
please
count us in
do.
or anything important like that.
Well, because of the way the show runs technically, I'm really the only one who could do that.
Sure, Steve. Oh, Ghost Wheel. Just no. Just shut it. Oh my god. Oh my god. So
So,
anyway, we're watching Poirot.
we're
Don't forget
watching
the links
Poirot.
down in the description. If you don't already have the episode, cue that sucker up. We're starting at 0000. All right.
Yes, indeed. Yes,
If you
indeed.
use the link, you'll get the same one that we're watching. And then Steve's going to count us in, saying 3, 2, 1, play. When Steve says play, we all click play. So it all starts at the same time. If for whatever reason you have to turn it off and turn it back on again, whatever, check the time code and then move your slider wherever it needs to go to get to the time code. If it's not exactly exact, that's fine. It's not a sing along. So
That's right. And we are
oh
only watching the first half because this is a feature length
yes.
episode.
So how far are we going?
About 48 minutes.
Okay.
That's about half. I will, and I skipped ahead to look for a good place to stop. There really isn't one. There's no fade to black in the middle of this one. So
Alas.
we'll get to the end of a particular scene and I'll say, okay, let's stop it there. And then we'll pick up at, I'll pick a good time code to pick up with when we pick it up in 2 weeks. So, all right. Are you ready?
Yes. I don't want to think about Guyliner anymore. Stupid 25th Amendment, stupid nonsense. Breathing.
We're going to watch Poirot. We're going to watch
Poirot. It'll all be over soon.
It'll be okay. All right, here we go. Like Dana said, I'll count this in and then we'll watch Poirot. Everybody hit play when I say play. In 3, 2, 1, play.
I'm going to turn my volume down a little bit. I like the design of the titles.
Yeah.
I guess the credits are. Expository dialogue.
There he is. I like that stash.
Yeah, and also just both the hat and the mustache look too big for his face.
Well, he's got a very narrow face.
Yeah, it's an interesting. Yeah, look at that. That's really interesting. Is that him?
Yeah.
I noticed
Ghost Wheel says
actually.
Poirot's sex scene is a good place to stop. Honeysuckle Weeks. Now that is a name.
Apparently there was a short-lived Tommy and Tuppence series that was, I think, produced in the 90s. I want to see if I can look that up. Or maybe it was the early 2000s, actually.
Hmm.
Zoe Wanamaker, apparently.
She should be a familiar face. She's been in a lot of stuff.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
Was it Caitlin who mentioned her?
Yeah.
It's interesting because, like, as Bashir, I don't think he's like taller than like everybody, but here he's a good bit taller than everybody. It's interesting. I can't help wondering which is more accurate to his actual build. One day. Oh, yes. I recognize her too. She was the mom on North and South, the
Oh.
pastor's wife. I'm not as well versed in cinema as you. So when I'm like, oh, I
No.
recognize somebody. Wow.
Well, I mean, this familiar faces pop up in British TV just the same as they do in American TV.
Yeah, no, but like I said, I haven't watched so much that, when I do recognize somebody, it's like, oh, I know a thing.
Caitlin, I know they hired a second cop. Good for the country. There's at least two. There
I bet
are
they
now
did
at
that when
least two
they're
policemen.
like, ooh, we have extra money. They hired somebody else when they
Let,
changed the title cards.
let's let's hire another inspector for the country.
Sure.
Okay.
Foreigners.
Stand still for 5 minutes. But if it's a secret, how can he announce it?
Well, it's a secret for now.
Oh.
This is for you. Here. Fridge always looks so boring, and they always play it.
Boy, I can't wait till somebody invents TV. Can you?
Caitlin, I'm guessing that was a manual shutter.
I bet his secret is that he's a vampire. And you can tell by the way he dresses and the facial hair.
Yes, but Kara, bridge is important because it is a partnered game. I thought they said bridge. They asked, so and so, do you play bridge?
Yeah. Yeah, it's bridge.
Well, not so much that it's always bridge, but also that instead of poker or rummy.
You know that thing that
And
always
maybe the
happens when
inspector
you're
too.
around? You know that thing that always happens when you're around? It just happened again.
Caitlin, yes, it is. And Whist as well, of course. And then, of course, hearts and spades are related as well.
Dead? Stabbed through the heart. Are we just going to repeat things? Poirot. HB Hag, I was thinking the same thing.
Mm-hmm. So, Devin, the idea is that we alternate between something that Steve has seen, which is DS9, and I haven't, and something that I'm familiar with, which is Poirot, and Steve's not.
Yep. And Liz, I'm right there with you. I have never successfully learned any adult card game except like a couple forms of solitaire and poker. I can do poker, but not the kind that they play now, like the kind where you just hand everybody their cards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm terrible at card games.
Caitlin, that's it. There's that Agatha Christie going right through. Not really an opinion, it's a guess at this point, my dude.
You seem delighted.
I remember.
It's called players. They're the shits. You see, Mr. Poirot, I'm drowning in it, as they say. Tammy. I can't believe we're really in Egypt. She's so good with her stiletto, you don't even feel the blade.
Thank you, Streaming
Good,
Meanie.
good for you, Streaming Meanie. Exactly. Poirot, are you card counting again? We've told you about your cheating.
Excuse me.
Can you believe we're actually in Switzerland? Mr. I Love the Ants. See, exactly.
Caitlin, yeah, I think that's the case.
Yeah, Caitlin, it seems deliberate because they are exactly the same. and it's obviously a fake backdrop. Like, I think it's deliberate, but it's funny.
Hmm. Yes, John. Unfortunately, creepy Dr. Bashir is dead, but we do have flashbacks, so you might get to see him a little bit.
Right, you might get to see him in another foreign country, quote unquote.
Which we can tell is a foreign country because mostly of the dialogue, let's be honest, they say it's this country, and that's, you just have to accept it.
I hope the next one is like China, and it's the Great Wall in the background.
Hand of Omega, we're watching a show and chit-chatting with what's going on in the chat. Do you? Do you really? Oh, I thought we were talking about him having a dangerous life because he's the one who's dead. I'm just saying. That seems to me an indication of a dangerous life. His is the one who has ended. Just saying. Him and what's his name down in Argentina. Too soon? Agatha Christie's Poirot Hand of Omega. There's a link down in the description. You can download it and then take a look at the time code. You can get caught up with us. It's called Cards on the Table is the name of the episode. So it's linked right down there. You can join us for that. The murder, alas, has already happened. Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes. Usually. Mr. Wheeler, please. It was this horse. He did it. And now he's trying to get away.
Yeah, HB Haga, exactly. They're like, one of them was a murderer.
Maybe more than one.
Streaming meaning? Not familiar with that.
What, the 13 keys?
Yep.
He's correctly predicted the outcome of like the last, I don't know how many presidential elections. I mean, he has a good track record, but it's a prediction model. It's not infallible.
Yeah, so did 538 until what, 2016? Was that?
Well, yeah, but 538 hadn't been around as long.
Yum. I'd completely forgotten that hands of bridge are called rubbers. I was like, oh yes, I remember. I remember chuckling about that in the novel.
I'd completely forgotten that to play bridge, you have to keep a written score. And now I know why I never play it. You play baseball? Oh, well, pardon me. Tammy, does cricket have grand slams too? I didn't know that. I don't know much about cricket. I know they use flat bats. Sounds like my kind of chick.
Snake big head. That sounds awesome.
And fire my secretary, yes. God, I love being a doctor.
But you knew that already, didn't you?
Oh, well, life goes on, doesn't it? Well, not for her.
Well, not for everyone. Jinx.
I've been drunk driving.
As one does. Gotta get those lovely shots of the cars in there somehow.
Yeah, Hastings not here, so
Alas.
everybody needs to pitch in. Well, since no one's home, I'll take that as permission to look through all their shit.
Especially if they left the door open. Perhaps they're dead. Okay, Goldilocks.
Oh my god, he's gonna Fredo him. I've read all of your trashy books.
Can't trust those Welsh.
Boy, I am just racing through plots here.
She's having so much fun with this.
Yeah.
Clinton, welcome.
Well, they just drive on whatever the hell side of the road they feel like at the moment, don't they?
Well, I mean, when the road's narrow, they have you just gotta kind of, when somebody else is coming along, you just squeeze to the side, wiggle past. We had to do that at the nature center. Some of those are not really good for both directions.
In a sexual way.
HB Haga, I don't remember. But yeah.
Caitlin, yeah, we're stopping at about 48 minutes. I'll let you know. They'll turn up one of these days.
Get to the point.
I love that. They were physical objects. Man, woman, camera, TV.
Clinton, the link is down in the description, and then you can use the time code to get caught up with us if you want.
Wait, these aren't from Bridge. These are from a game of Clue we were playing.
Hint, hint, hint.
We're roommates. Hint, hint.
Well, Miss Chivas, don't forget, the one lady was being, I mean, she couldn't remember where she went in the room when she was across from like the, police inspector and all these guys interrogating her. And so the second interview is a little bit different context.
His face.
Tell me everything.
Dish, dish, dish. What a great cut. Oh, I love that cut.
um Caitlin, I think Kara is talking about the blonde who owns the house, I'm guessing. It happens.
All right, and we'll stop there. We'll pick up with the shot of the typewriter next time, and I'll get like an exact. I have it paused at 48, 42. I don't know if that's exactly where we'll pick up. I might shift it back a second or two, but that, yeah. So yeah, around then.
Oh, It's so nice. I'm just like, oh yes, I remember this and I remember this. Some of the things I don't remember, but yeah. Yeah, I remember, yeah. Well, I don't want to say the things that I remember, but oh, definitely fun.
It's a really, yeah, it's a fun show so far. I love that cut to the pile of horse shit. That is such a funny cut. Oh my
And him
God.
like kind of shuffle stepping around it. Just
Oh. Well, it's like, she goes to, oh, what do you think of his book? Here, let me show you. Horse shit. It's just wonderful. Wonderful. So,
very punny. So,
shall we play
yes,
not Wordle,
let's.
as I think Caitlin called it in the chat?
Not Wordle. Yes. Oh, Kara, no, we're at the typewriter.
Yeah,
I
pause right at the
past us.
Yeah, Kara's usually a little bit past us. I think she watches a different version.
Mr. L of the Ants, don't forget, it won't be next week. It'll be week after next. Next week, we're back to DS9.
That's right. That's right. All right, so Wordmaster.
Yes, let's.
All right. This is the Wordmaster board we're playing, everybody. So the way this works, if you've never joined us before, this is an off-brand Wordle. We used to play Wordle, but we have shifted to an alternate version because screw the New York Times.
Not happy with them lately.
No, they're just not doing their job. They're not doing the work they should be doing.
So disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, what with democracy hanging by a thread and all, you would hope that the most important newspaper in the fucking world would be a little more concerned, but that's okay.
One would have hoped.
So the way this works is Dana is not actually seeing the Wordmaster board. She's only going by my description of it. But she takes the lead as far as what we guess. And those of you watching, if you have your own guesses or suggestions, please share. Snakepit Cat and Empire Jeff are both throwing in guesses already.
We're getting some guesses already. No,
Pound
we're not starting with those.
But anyway, so yes, please, as we go on, feel free to throw in your guesses and suggestions in the chat, and we will play as a group, and hopefully we will solve this baby. So, Dana, shall we begin?
Let's go with heart.
Heart, our typical starter word, H-E-A-R-T. That gives us an A in the wrong place, and that's it.
That's it. All right, let's go with lions.
Lions, L-I-O-N-S. Okay, we get a little bit more now. Lions gives us an N in the wrong place, but an S in the right place. So we know the last letter is S.
Okay.
And there's an A and an N in there somewhere, but not in their present positions. And we know that there is no H, no E, no R, no T, no L, no I, and no O.
Well, it could be Nana's.
It could be.
Can't be nails because the I and the L aren't in there. Some other common letters are M, D, C, and P. Don't have a K in there yet either.
That's right. Yes.
Nope. Pangs would work. Yeah, there's rather a lot that's available.
Pangs. Bangs. Gangs. We could try an A-N-G.
Well, but also banks and K would also work. So I think we want to try something.
Yeah.
We want to try something that has both a G and a K in it.
Okay.
What about Gunky? G-U-N-K-Y, because that also gets us to try the U in there as well, which we haven't tried a U yet.
Okay. You want to try that?
Yeah. I think that will help us. Yeah.
G-U-N-K-Y. Gunky. The N is the third letter.
Okay.
And there is a K, and it is right after the N,
Mm-hmm.
and there is a Y.
Well, then it's got to be Yanks, right?
I think it's got to be Yanks, doesn't it? Because the Y, we know the Y is not the last letter because that's the S.
Right. And it doesn't make sense to be A-Y. We have to have
And
A.
there, well, no, we actually, it has to be because we know there's an A, so it has to be
Yeah,
Yanks. Yes,
exactly.
you're right.
Because A-Y-N-K-S doesn't work.
Yeah, Yanks. That's it.
Yes. That was great. I did
That was,
luck out with
yes.
Gunky, but I was led to it with the example of pangs and fangs, and then thinking about the K there and banks. Yeah, guys. Thank you so
Nicely
much.
played.
Yes.
Nicely
That was
played.
very satisfying.
Bloody
Yes,
Yanks.
it's
Exactly,
us.
Caitlin.
Oh, we will be. Oh gosh. I'm so, oh gosh. So,
just, just having a moment. You're just having a moment. That's all.
well, so, I don't know. We got the check from the dividends. It came today.
Oh, yes.
And so, thinking about, I mean, what's this? We're in October. Yeah, so this will be the last one that we get before the new year.
Sure.
And I was initially thinking of giving another one to the food bank. But there's also part of me that wants to donate to a campaign.
True.
But there's also a part of me that's like, they have like the Harris campaign has a ton of money. And
well, also, just, you know, I mean, haven't you incurred some expenses this year that you could probably use the money to, you know, build the old bank account back up a little bit? I mean, there would be nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with it, no. But this is, I mean, I'm treating this somewhat like windfall money, and we're not.
I know, but
we're not too bad off. Yeah. So I do want to, but I mean, it just got me thinking about, you know, we could donate to a campaign, and I'm like, oh God, they have so much money, and they're still not like way, and they're not way ahead, and it bothers me. Like it seems,
I know. Well, look, this happens every election cycle. It's the stakes have been higher the last few because the other side is so fucking dire and dangerous. But this happens every election cycle, and there's no way around it. The truth is, you can't go by the polls. You can't go by the various prediction models. You just have to wait until the election is over and we have the result. And that sucks, but that's what we have to do.
So yeah. Sean Harris is running against Marjorie Taylor Greene. So
you could donate to his campaign.
Yep. I might see about splitting up, you know, among several of the local/regional campaigns, because we also have a couple of people running. We have somebody running for state house and somebody running for state senate. Again, some of that I think is as much, and then also it's just hard. Money makes a big difference. Obviously, if you don't have money, you're not going to be able to get the reach that you need, and you know, visibility is key. But like, you know, I've seen a number of things. You know, if the Harris campaign is able to raise all this money, you know, why are the polls the way they are? And a big part of that is that historically, left-leaning people are more willing to donate and also more willing to be active. So yeah, I'm just yeah, there's just no way to know until it's over. But
that's it.
It's just yeah, it's discouraging. Well, because the thing, I mean, because it's kind of, you know, you can say all you want about, you know, gerrymandering and people, and you know, one of the things that gets said around here is that the largest voting bloc we have are the non-voters, which
that's true in a lot of places. I mean,
is one.
Voter turnout in this country is pathetic. And that's not even that's taking into account voter suppression and all of the ways in which, people in certain areas are, discouraged from voting, or it's intentionally made as difficult as possible
Yeah.
for them to vote. Even if you account for all of that, which is bullshit and should never
Mhm.
happen, but even if you account for all of that, voter turnout in this country is pathetic. There are so many people who could vote with little to no hardship and just don't. Um, and it is a recurring source of frustration for me, because what do you do about it? Like, how do you convince someone who has already made up their mind that it's not worth it, to do it?
Yeah, I guess I don't know that, and that does bother me a little bit. But just there are millions of people who are voting for Trump and Vance, and it's just like that's and no amount of Caitlyn. Yeah, there's no amount. You can shorten the election cycle all you want, but those people are still out there, and it's just so. It's so discouraging. I don't. I don't know what. I don't know what. I don't know how to respond to that. Especially when I hear, like, I pass students in the hall and they're repeating some of the phrases that, like, I know are, like, factually inaccurate. And I'm just like, calling them out on this is not going to be helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Simon Moody says there are some factors that polls cannot pick up on that favor Harris. That's true. And also, I mean, just referring to your state, Dana, Georgia,
Yeah.
early voting started, and apparently
Yeah.
turnout for early voting is historically high. Now, that,
Yes.
again, we can't draw any conclusions based on that, but that is encouraging, because generally speaking, high turnout favors Democrats.
Well, not only that, but also, I mean,
So,
like I said about donating and being active. I mean, early turnout, early voting doesn't just favor Democrats. It tends to reflect, left-leaning activity, because you're going ahead of time, and
that
it just
you're
tends
yeah,
to,
yeah.
yeah, it
So
fits in with
that's
that sort of,
encouraging. Again, it doesn't take away the anxiety, but it's encouraging, you know.
yeah.
And also there's recent history of, in the last couple of state elections and midterm elections, like abortion is a really, really galvanizing issue for people, and has, since Roe was overturned, it has proven to be an effective um, draw, to get people to get out and vote. And a lot of states this time around have ballot questions about, voting to guarantee abortion access in that state. And that's going to get people to go out and vote. And
Hmm.
hopefully they'll be voting for Harris and
Yeah.
Walz at the same time as they're voting for, the right to have access to abortion. So yeah, there are, all is not lost. I'm very optimistic, but it's it's closer than I would like it to be, according to the
Oh, yeah.
polls, and we're not going to
Yeah.
know until it's over. And that
Yeah.
is, there's no way around that.
Yeah. Um, Clinton Dovey, I wish you would. I really wish you would. And not just, I mean, voting is a great, start,
Yeah,
but
Clinton, you should vote. You should vote.
you should absolutely vote.
You should
Go
vote.
vote, and also just, see who who's there. It is a great beginning to civic activity, which is just so important, connecting with other people about, what our communities should look like. It's really important.
Yeah. And
Um,
if your vote, if there's 2 points to remember, if your vote didn't matter, number one, so many people would not have died to try and protect that right for you and for everybody. And two, so many people right now would not be trying to stop you from doing it.
yeah.
Like the idea, I know a lot of people, I'm not saying specifically you as an individual, Clinton, but a lot of people say that, they just throw that out. Well, voting doesn't matter. My vote doesn't count. And if it didn't, I mean,
Yeah.
like, you know,
And
yeah,
this coming from somebody, I mean, the last time we had somebody running against Marjorie Taylor Greene, my understanding is that more money was spent on Marcus Flowers' campaign than any other House race, and he still lost like 2-1. But that was the highest our numbers have ever been
yeah,
for a legislative race. Like it just and it's been building. You know, we have been working on building our base for, you know, years. At least, I mean, as far back as I was able to get to, I think through Ballotpedia.
mhm,
You know, and Steve, I know I've talked with you about this and maybe even shared it on
yeah,
the stream before, but, you know, looking at when we had literally nobody running, you know, when I think our previous representative Tom Cotton was running literally unopposed. And then there was somebody as an independent who was on the ballot. And then we had somebody who was running as a Democrat who was on the ballot. And you know, it's sort of, then we had somebody who got a little bit of the vote, got a little bit more, and just bit by bit, we've been having more and more success, not to the point where it's even remotely a close race, but we are building to that point.
yes,
And
yes.
each
And
each
it's long,
person who
hard work.
votes,
Yeah.
it really is each person who votes, that's just a little bit more of reassurance and encouragement that the work that those of us who are actively involved are doing, it just, I mean, even if that's all you're doing, that's just one more number in, okay, this isn't completely, you
Yeah.
know, we shouldn't give up yet. Okay. And if
No,
you
of course
have
not.
the opportunity, I guarantee you that there is, if there's a Democratic organization in my community, I guarantee you, wherever you're at, there's something you can help out with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
promise you. And if you
Yeah.
feel like voting doesn't matter, then get involved locally with like the organization, help them raise money, help them support candidates. You know,
Oh,
we have, you
absolutely.
know, help them develop one of our some of our candidates, bless their hearts, it's all very new to them, and they could use some help, you know, somebody to put information on the webpage. Some of them, they're, you know, a lot of people who run for, you know, local and state offices are retired because, like, especially if they get elected, it's not something that's really great with a 9 to 5 job that requires you to be there every day because you got to spend 4 months in the state capitol doing stuff. So like
Yeah.
they're retired and maybe they're not great with technology, so they could use some help there. So yeah, there's lots of ways to, you know, support, you know, civic engagement. But something came up on my feed and I wanted to talk about it briefly. So there was
Okay.
something about a Disney villain, about Gaston being, you know, a great example of a true villain despite not having any magic powers, and that he's just
Right.
this, you know, entitled white guy. And so all these comments about, you know, a lot of them responding specifically to Gaston, and then other people mentioning, yeah, but he's not the only one. The other one that got mentioned a lot was Frollo, of course, you know, really a creepy character. But then, I mean, there were a lot of them. There are a lot of characters like that. Oh gosh, and now their names are going away. The guy from Pocahontas, um, and then also the lead guy, the guy leading the expedition in Atlantis. You know, just a whole bunch of these white male characters who are
Mhm.
villains from about the night. And I think Gaston was kind of the precursor to all of these, you know, going forward. And this showed up on my feed a day ago, and I saved it because I wanted to see what would happen. And nobody mentioned the character who predates all of them by decades, and that's Lady Tremaine, Cinderella's stepmother.
Oh, yeah.
So not only no magic powers, but let's be really clear about this: a woman who has very limited power, but is pushing for proximity to power. I mean, it just
Yeah.
seems incredibly relevant right now. Like, she has very
Yeah.
limited power for herself, but if she can get one of her daughters married to the prince, and
Yeah.
she will do whatever it takes, even stepping on somebody else close to her, to not necessarily to get more power for herself through the people she is connected to. And if that isn't just a wake-up call to white women around the country, when you are willing to cause harm to others so that the people near you can have power and you'll be in that kind of circle and it won't hurt you as much, you're a villain. That is villain behavior.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Nin Crochet Tiger, there really wasn't a whole lot of subtlety to her. I mean, she's awful, and she's one of my favorite characters. She's awesome. Eleanor Audley, who also voiced Maleficent, of course, just an amazing actress, just brilliant. But just
yeah. I like Mr. I Love the Ants question. Are your students voting Republican because they're going to get rid of the Department of Education?
I mean, let's be really clear about this. My students better not be voting, because right now I'm teaching freshmen and sophomores.
Yeah.
So if they're voting, then that's fraudulent.
You know that if high school students could vote, that's exactly the message Trump would be using to try and appeal to them. Vote for me and I'll get rid of the Department of Education. Because he's at the point in the campaign now, and it's one of the many frustrating things is that he's obviously just coming out and just telling people what they want to hear with no intention of following up on any of it if he wins, and his base doesn't care. His base is either that gullible that they honestly believe that he's going to make IVF free for everybody, or they know he's full of shit and they just don't care. But he's at that point where he's like literally just promising random shit to people because he thinks that'll get them to vote for him, with no possible intention of following up on it. Like, anybody who thinks that President Donald Trump is going to make IVF free to everybody and the government is going to pay for it and the Republican Party is going to back him up on that is fucking nuts. That's not going to happen. But he's trying to get women to vote for him, and maybe that's a good sign in and of itself. Maybe the fact that he or someone in his campaign are apparently so worried about how they expect him to do with women that they're having him go out there and say just absolutely insane shit like, I will make IVF free for everybody, or just more generic stuff. Like, he keeps saying, I'll be your protector. He keeps saying, women, I'll be your protector. Okay. But, if he thought that he had especially white women, he doesn't give a shit about if black people vote for him. But if he felt like he had that demographic wrapped up, I don't know if he'd be going out and making such an obvious play for it, even though it is totally transparent and horseshit.
I have no idea what they're thinking about having him just sort of wander. I mean, he's such an oaf.
He's unteachable. I'm sure there are people in his campaign who are banging their heads against the wall because, like, you can't tell him anything.
Oh yeah. But I think part of it, a number of people that I've been chit-chatting with are concerned that, like I said earlier, the 25th Amendment, that Trump is not actually the candidate, Vance is.
Right. Yeah.
So essentially, we're at the point where it's pretty clear nobody cares what he says, because everybody knows they're not actually voting for Trump. They're voting for the party. It's a party vote, pure and simple. It's just that's all it is. And then Mr. I Love the Ants. I know what I want to say. I think you're thinking of Oliver and Company, the Disney animated movie. I'm guessing. Billy Joel voices the dog.
Madame Medusa from the Rescuers.
I went a very different place. Okay, I don't know. I can't put a dog in the Rescuers, but okay, it's two mice, and so there might be a dog in it somewhere. So yeah. 12 years. No,
well, no, it couldn't be 12 years. I mean, it couldn't be. I mean, unless you're counting if Trump makes it 4 more years and you're counting that as Vance's
No, because
as Vance's as
if
well? You
Trump makes
can't.
it, if Trump makes it to inauguration, then Trump is inaugurated, and then after that we get Vance for the rest of that term. He can still run twice.
No, not if he's not if he takes over right after Trump gets inaugurated. There's a
How
there
much time?
I think it's halfway through.
Okay, okay.
If you serve if a vice president takes over for a president and they serve out more than half of the term,
It counts against the
then they can't
24th.
run. They can't run twice. Yeah,
Okay.
they can only run for one more full term.
Yeah, Liz, exactly. It yeah, it's just yeah. Ugh, ugh. Bleh, bleh, bleh.
Yeah. Well, anyway, let's
And on that note,
let's call
so
the festivities to a close.
Well, but before you do, what are we watching next week? Next week we're back to DS9.
Well, next week we're back to DS9, and it's an episode called A Simple Investigation. And it's an Odo episode.
Oh, lovely.
And Odo finally has that experience that hopefully everybody has at one point, at least in their life. Odo, Dana, I'll say nothing more. I'll say nothing more than this. It's the episode where Odo finally becomes a man.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, that's what we're watching next week. Deep Space
Yay.
Nine, A Simple Investigation. And then 2 weeks from now, we'll be watching the second half of Cards on the Table.
And then
then the following Friday, we're doing another special Friday watch along where we will be watching an episode in honor of just having finished one of the Ariadne Oliver Poirot stories. We will be watching one of Ariadne Oliver's successors, I guess, as a character. Yes, Murder, She Wrote, starring
Jessica Fletcher.
The great Angela Lansbury as Jessica Fletcher.
Wonderful Angela Lansbury.
Yes, absolutely. So,
yeah, she's absolutely brilliant. So don't forget, in addition to that, next week after this one, then next Friday, we will have Ask Away.
Ask Away.
That is next Friday.
Not this Friday.
Right?
Not this Friday, but next Friday. Yes.
So if you are a channel member or a patron, then you can send in a question that Steve will read on the live stream, and you can do this at any subscription level. So even for the low price of less than a cup of coffee a day,
you're Sally Struthers.
So yeah, you can support Steve's channel and the brilliant, entertaining, and yet thought-provoking work that he does. So yeah, you can. There's a little button down here. You can go to patreon.com/Steve Shives and support that way. So yeah, always great to be able to support a fellow artiste. And other than that, yeah, there are also some opportunities to support causes. There's some I guess they're non-governmental organizations, but some charities and stuff down there. And then also there's charitylinks.page. Is that right? I'm tired.
No,
okay,
right.
charitylinks.page is a compiled list of friends and associates of ours who could use some financial assistance. So
that's right. And they are compiled by our anarchist friend, Some Random Geek. So I can pretty much guarantee all of those are non-governmental organizations.
Well, all of them are non-organizations. They're people. They're individuals.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Can support directly, and you don't have to. There's no.
They're not organizations
depending on what way you support them, there's like minimal fees involved. So yay for that, I guess. You're not directly supporting capitalism. You're just indirectly supporting, because we all live in a capitalist society, because that's the way the world is right now. Tis what tis.
That's right.
And on that note, hopefully we will see you next week for some DS9.
That's right. All right, everybody. Have a good night. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Yay!